Most of you will be familiar with Maniac Mansion, the 1987 Lucasfilm point-and-click adventure game created by Ron Gilbert and Gary Winnick, but some of you might not know that there was a sitcom based on the game. The graphic adventure was about a group of teens who enter a mansion owned by the Edison family to rescue a girl from the clutches of mad scientist Dr. Fred, whose mind is being controlled by a sentient meteor. The game featured the wacky ideas and humour that would become a staple of Lucasfilm adventures, and featured an eccentric cast of characters, most notably the Edison family, the inhabitants of the titular Maniac Mansion. It also introduced the Scum engine to the world, an interface for graphic adventures that would be used in many of Lucasfilm's finest point-and-click games going forward. So how did a TV show based on the game come about? The Maniac Mansion sitcom was written and produced by Eugene Levy. At the time, he was most known for starring in the Canadian sketch show SCTV, which helped launch the careers of some huge comedy film stars including John Candy, Martin Short, Harold Ramis and Rick Moranis. Levy has been involved with many projects since, including starring as Jim's dad in the American Pie series, and is writer, producer and star of Schitt's Creek, which he created with his son Dan. He was first approached by Atlantis Films, who would be co-producing the sitcom with Lucasfilm Limited Television. Maniac Mansion would be Lucasfilm's first live-action television program and is to date the only television series based on a Lucasfilm game, and the only Lucasfilm show to be based on something other than Star Wars or Indiana Jones. Seemingly, the initial idea came from Lucasfilm animators Cliff Ruby and Ilana Lasser, who had brought the idea of developing a show based on Maniac Mansion to George Lucas. Lucas was keen for the show to concentrate on the humour and not rely on special effects. When Atlantis approached Levy, the idea was to create a show very loosely based on the source material, and the showrunners already had a Bible for the show detailing the characters and premise. Something akin to The Addams Family or The Munsters, starring a weird family all living under one roof in a gothic mansion. Levy didn't like the concept at all, but Atlantis were more than happy for him to have creative control and change anything and everything that he wanted to. The new idea was to have a family living in a mansion. The patriarch would be a scientist called Fred Edison, and the sentient meteor is referenced, and that's where the similarities with the game end. The name and Dr. Fred, that's literally it, everything else was different. The text that appears in the opening credits stating based on an original computer game by Lucasfilm Games is meant in the loosest possible terms. Executive producer Barry Josson, who went on to be executive producer on several shows including Sex and the City, stated in an interview for issue 12 of the Lucasfilm Fan Club magazine, the important thing to consider here is that the game was the original inspiration for the series. Without the game we wouldn't have the show, and for that we paid great homage and appreciation to the game. However, when you get into the individual elements of the game compared to the show, what you see is that there are a lot of elements that really work for the game which don't necessarily work so well for the TV show. The show starred Joe Flaherty didn't even realise it was based on the computer game until they were several weeks into filming. The extended Edison family featured in the game would be replaced by entirely different characters. Joe Flaherty would star as Dr. Fred. He worked on SCTV with Eugene Levy. Deborah Thika as his wife Casey, Kathleen Robertson as their teen daughter Tina, Avi Phillips as the young son Ike. This kid dresses rather oddly.
Mickey Rourke called, he wants his hat back. Very funny.
George Boozer as Turner, their 4-year-old son, who has been transformed into the body of an adult by an accident with one of Dr. Fred's science experiments.
I don't like it when people laugh at me.
John Hemphill, another SCTV star, as Harry Orca, Dr. Fred's brother-in-law, transformed into the body of a fly by the same freak accident. Strangely, he has retained a human head, albeit fly-sized. And Mary Charlotte Wilcox, again a former star of SCTV, as his wife Idella. Beyond the core cast members, the show of course had several recurring characters and several guest stars. These included some of Levy's SCTV co-stars, including Martin Short and Dave Thomas, and Levy appeared in the show himself. In fact, many of the production staff were involved with SCTV, from the writers and directors to the camera crew and makeup artist. Maniac Mansion, the show, is strange. The characters of Turner and Harry are bizarre additions. Sure, they make up for some unique storylines, but overall they just serve to annoy me. Harry the Fly has a modified voice to make him sound small, which can be quite grating.
Because I'm a married man and a fly's got the hots for me.
The character of Turner, the toddler in a grown man's body, is just awkward. Seeing a grown man constantly talk in a baby voice is cringeworthy at the best of times, and again annoying.
Dad? Yeah? Dad? Dad? Yeah? Dad? What? Dad? What?
The best of the cast is probably Dr. Fred, whose mad experiments bring up all kinds of opportunities for comical situations. He often talks directly to the camera while performing these experiments, documenting them on an imaginary camcorder. The mansion they live in has some interesting decor. Some of the interior would look right at home in an Aztec temple. The show takes place around 20 years after the game. The Dr. Fred of the show is the son of Weird Ed Edison and grandson of his namesake, the original Dr. Fred. The comedy generally revolves around a combination of Dr. Fred's experiments and general suburban family life. Maniac Mansion retains much of the comedic style of SCTV, so it's full of cultural references and satire, and it also breaks the fourth wall frequently, with the characters making self-aware comments and addressing the audience directly, often straight to the camera. In a strange and bold move, the first episode is called the 10th Anniversary Special, and is celebrating the show being on air for 10 years. Obviously the audience know this isn't the case, as this is the debut episode, leaving us confused for the duration. That is until the episode's end, when it's revealed that it was all a dream of Fred's. But it does end with a superb fourth wall break from his wife Casey, where she acknowledges that they're on a TV show.
It was our 10th anniversary special.
Oh, honey, come to bed.
Boy, it seems so real.
Oh, come on, let's go.
All right. Oh,
Besides, let's just get through the first year before we start looking ahead another 10.
One of the funniest examples of this type of thing is the cliffhanger at the end of Series 1, an episode which itself is called The Cliffhanger, featuring one of TV's most hilarious screams.
Wake up. Casey, I had that dream again. Only this time I was trying to change Harry and Turner back. But then that part ended in one of those cliffhanger things where you hook the audience in. And then all of a sudden we were at this party and everybody was different. And then you were going to Venezuela and I was leaving. And then that turned into one of those cheap cliffhanger things. And then Casey?
These fourth wall breaks and references to the show itself are a recurring theme across the whole run of Maniac Mansion, with several episodes being structured like mockumentaries looking at the quote-unquote real family behind the sitcom. This blend of self-awareness, dry humour and science fiction makes for one trippy show. At times you feel like you're on an acid trip watching this, very surreal indeed. Maniac Mansion first aired in September 1990 on YTV in Canada and the Family Channel in the States, 4 days before the NES port of Maniac Mansion was released, although I'm not sure if this was timed as a deliberate cross-promotion publicity stunt. I'd say it probably was, considering that some of the versions of the NES release advertised the show on the front of the box and displayed the Family Channel logo prominently on the back. It ran for 3 seasons, spanning 66 episodes until April 1993. Each season has a unique intro, although the theme tune remains the same. Although Maniac Mansion stayed on TV until '94 in the US and 1997 in Canada, it never received a proper home video release. It did return to Canadian channel Showcase in 2002 for another rerun, but the only VHS releases were a 2-episode video released by the Family Channel in '92 and a 4-episode video exclusively released in Japan. But the entire series never made it to VHS and has not come to DVD. Perhaps that explains why for most, this is a forgotten relic of the Lucasfilm portfolio. Reportedly, Lucasfilm didn't like the show at all, perhaps due to its dissimilarity with the source material. It was even referenced in Maniac Mansion's 1993 sequel Day of the Tentacle, where Dr. Fred mentions that a TV show was made about his family. So that's the weird and wonderful story of the Maniac Mansion sitcom. Have you seen it, or do you remember it at all? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to watch it, the entire 3 seasons are on YouTube. Thanks for watching.